Senators on the Foreign Relations Committee held the first in a series of hearings on Capitol Hill regarding military intervention in Syria. Secretary of State John Kerry, Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey, all made the case for military strikes. Now, here was Secretary John Kerry explaining the national security risk of not responding to alleged chemical weapons use by Syrian President Bashar al-Assad.
We know that Assad would read our stepping away or our silence as an invitation to use those weapons with impunity. And in creating impunity, we will be creating opportunity. The opportunity for other dictators and/or terrorists to pursue their own weapons of mass destruction, including nuclear weapons.
Now, the two chairmen of the Foreign Relations Committee, Senators Bob Menendez and Corker, both support President Obama's intervention, but they were concerned of the scope of it, that it might be too broad and that the authorization doesn't specifically prohibit U.S. troops on the ground. Secretary Kerry addressed those concerns.
So let me be clear. President Obama is not asking America to go to war. And I say that sitting next to two men, Secretary Hagel and Chairman Dempsey, who know what war is. Senator McCain knows what war is. They know the difference between going to war and what President Obama is requesting now. We all agree there will be no American boots on the ground.
Now, the question is, can an authorization pass Congress? It's believed there are enough hawks and interventionists in the Senate for it to pass. But the big question is in the House, where there are more civil libertarians like Representative Justin Amash and progressives like Alan Grayson who oppose intervention. And you can already see similarities between supporters of the Amash Amendment that nearly passed a few months ago to defund the NSA and those who today oppose intervention in Syria. So it remains to be seen if House leadership, like Speaker of the House John Boehner, Eric Cantor, and Nancy Pelosi, who all support intervention, can keep their members in line. Ultimately, though, the White House never said military strikes hinge on congressional approval. They've been careful not to say that, in fact. Senator Chris Coons is confident, however, that the president is listening to Congress.
I welcome and respect the president coming to Congress to seek authorization. I don't think he had to. I think constitutionally he has the power to act in exigent circumstances. I think both what we decide and how we decide it here in the Congress is important, both as a role model of how democracy can work and in order to end up, hopefully, with sort of unified support behind a narrow and clear path forward.
Part of the problem here, though, is, and my biggest complaint about it is, I want to be proud of the president for bringing this forward, but then they say, well, they won't adamantly say they're going to adhere to congressional verdict. So is the vote just theater? Is it just pretend? And that's a pretty important thing. If the president wants credit for believing in congressional authority and coming forward with us, he needs to say, yes, the vote's binding. Absolutely, I would never go to war if I lose the vote. But it's telling that they're not willing to say that.
So you can imagine a scenario in which Congress can't get the votes to pass anything. They just keep debating. And then ultimately the president goes it alone, saying he tried to go to Congress, but Congress is paralyzed like the UN Security Council. So we'll see if the coming debate this week and next will actually influence the president's decision. But an interesting little end note here is that this coming weekend, Congress was supposed to be filled with hearings and debates on the latest NSA revelations. Those are on the back burner now with Syria, a debate the White House feels a lot more comfortable winning. In Washington, Sam Sachs, RT.